Hello, everybody. Welcome to Drink Up Happy Hour. I guess it's happy hour here in Minnesota, but in California, I guess you're kind of right after lunch and a little just try to stay awake. It is Hump Day, right, Jayla?
I've got tea.
Yeah, you got tea. That's one of my favorite things to go to. So Jayla Siciliano, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Siciliano.
Siciliano. Oh, okay. Say, all right. So a guy from the South trying to pronounce, but welcome to Drink Up. I had the dubious pleasure to be on your podcast, Seed Talent Podcast. Is that the right name? I think I was on there.
Seed
And
money.
Seed
Seed
Money. See,
money.
I'm thinking talent, seed money, seed money.
All good.
So I've already butchered the start of this. So stick with me for 45 minutes, everybody. Jayla, don't run off
All
on me.
good.
But before we get started, I just want to call a couple of our sponsors. We always do this. Jay Williams from Freebird. We all love Jay Williams. He gives me free product. So I'm one of the first people to actually talk about his brand, but Jay is blowing up. He's just got into Walmart as an
What
example.
is it? What's the beverage inside?
It's water
Water. Cool. I
and
have
it's
to
called
try it. I love the
Freebird.
can. I love the can.
Yeah, and it's called Freebird. Leonard Skinner, Freebird?
Yeah,
They did not have
totally.
a trademark on the name Freebird.
No way. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
exactly. No
Wow.
way. And he's into NASCAR as well. But of hopefully Jay sometimes he'll join us in the thing. But I'm sure he's out trying to sell some water today and continue to expand his empire. And I know that you can appreciate that. Also, I'd like to call it my company, Bev Assets, my partner, Alicia Vargo. Hopefully, introduce you to her one day. And then Adam Smith, tardy again, Adam. Adam had missing one of the best podcasts of the year with Jayla, but Adam owns Alias Advising, and he's an operations guy. So if you're looking to get the product in a can, find a can, the label that goes on the can, talking to the formulators, the co-packers, you'd want to talk to someone like Adam Smith. And then finally, Rocks Advising with Ryan Hallerman. They're a group of folks. Basically, it's like a community of folks that have come together and have a brand's looking for co-packing, commercial strategy, money. That group tends to help. But with all that being said, all the advertisements are out of the way. We have Jayla. By the way, just real exciting. This is our second Shark Tanker that
Fun.
have been on the podcast. So we had Adam Calanine from Bottle Keepers, which is he had made a product to let you know that basically was like a bottle that you could take a bottle, not a can, but it basically kept it cold. And he developed that, him and his wife, and he developed several companies since then. But I think it was one of the top episodes on Shark Tank. But we're not talking about him today. We're talking about you. And I had the pleasure to be on Seed Money with you. And we were just talking about the journey. I thought we'd just continue our conversation once you tell
Sure.
us a little bit about who you are, and why you want to be on Drink Up and the whole bit. But then I would like to get into the journey of a beverage founder, because I'm sure there's a lot of information that you could share with this group. Because one thing you told me was after 10 years, you decided to hang it up,
Yep. Good.
right?
Happy to share that story because not enough people share it.
Yeah. So we'll get into that story, but a little bit about, okay, who are you? How do people find you? Why Drink Up and talk into our community?
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, I've always been a product person, way, way back. I started my career in product development. And then I had this brilliant idea to launch a beverage. And I thought it'd be so easy after being in product development and design for shoes and bags for 7 years. One beverage, one SKU, that'd be super easy to do. And so I basically gave that a good 10-year run. And it was an absolute roller coaster. That's, what landed me on Shark Tank. I went through the whole fundraising process in 2000, which was super fun. And then, my idea of success has significantly shifted over the years. And, where I'm at today, I kind of overcorrected after that experience. I went back to corporate for a little while. And then I was like, what am I doing? I don't want to work for anyone else. And I realized, I started that company with this goal of selling it for $100 million and, blah, blah, blah. And I don't even know why. I just thought that's what you were supposed to do. But today, I'm a mom of a 9-year-old. I prioritize, like tonight, I'm going to Outrigger. I'm training for a race, which is basically like team sport canoeing out on the ocean in Santa Barbara. We just got back from Fiji. So my life priority at this point is really like travel, exercise, my family,
And
and
your blood
also
pressure
making
is down
money.
because you told me your blood pressure was very high when you went to,
Yes.
we'll get into later, but that you had to make a decision for yourself, right? So
Yeah,
now you're having
totally. Yeah.
fun, man. You're just living life, right? Which is
Yeah,
great.
living life, I'm still building. I went into a totally different industry, so I still have my own company and got into real estate investing. But yeah, I realized I was killing myself. What was I working those 16-hour days for? Killing
Right.
myself. And so yeah, I've had a couple big shifts and pivots. I've zigzagged, but it's all kind of landed me where I'm at.
So you're
So
working 16-hour days. Wait, you beverage man, you don't have to work that hard. You just find a distributor, right? And
yeah.
it just magically happens. Or maybe if the distributor returned your message, I think I returned your message, but maybe I
Yeah,
didn't.
I think
I
you did.
still
You
have
did.
that email too. I still have that DM, which is I gotta screenshot that. That's funny.
Yeah, that was like yeah, like 15 years ago, I think we said, right? That I reached out to you for distribution. So
Yeah. And I didn't respond.
yeah, no, I think you did, and I don't know what happened. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah,
Probably a typical distributor move. Hey, Jayla, we have a lot of stuff going on. This happened to a brand, by the way, just so you know. So I have a brand. I'll call them out, Mason Dixon. They'll do 10,000 cases this year in Pennsylvania, and then I will not name the distributor, but the distributor sent we've been going back and forth, sent a nice note. Hey, look, it's not you. We're all full up now. I'm like, you're full up. So now, like what's the window to get into distribution? 7,
oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah,
right?
wow. But
So
just
what is so where your journey? So you Fiji, and I'm sorry to interrupt. So this is how we roll, by the way.
yeah, oh, all good.
Um,
No, keep it going, yeah.
You got the 9-year-old. You're in rigor, something rigor with you doing this stuff out in the ocean. But your day, what's your day job? Like, what do you do now?
So my day job is we started investing in vacation rentals, and I ended up building up a management portfolio, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. I sold the East Coast portfolio last year. So right now I'm still managing the properties we own as well as manage for other people. I've got it highly automated, so I probably spend about 15 hours a week on that, but it's pretty darn lucrative for the amount of time and effort and stress in that. And we're, always looking at buying new properties. So I'm always just kind of scouting out. We're developing some land in Vermont, stuff like that. And then, but all of that is
So I can
great.
call you and maybe get a kind of a deal on a vacation rental somewhere if I want to
Yeah, of
go like
course.
set up shop and do the podcast in Vermont.
Yes. Or come out to Santa Barbara. Yeah, it'd be fun in the middle of winter.
Man,
You'll love
Susan,
it.
I told you the story about Susan. I would drive from LA and we
Oh,
would drive
yes.
up and we would get some wine and we'd sit on
That's
the
right.
coast. We'd go up the
Yeah.
Pacific Coast Highway and we'd go up to Santa Barbara and then we'd do that. What is it? The big parade that they did, winter solstice or something.
Summer solstice. That is
Summer.
my favorite holiday here. It's the best parade ever. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
coming up in June. Yeah. Super
I'm inviting
fun.
myself over. I'm inviting Susan and I are going to come see you soon.
Yes, please. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
so
I
all that
interrupted
is
you. So
great, but
you own property all over the US.
yeah, but the problem is I'm not really doing much to help people, and and it's not really, it's kind of boring business, right? There's not that much excitement around it. Like I do enjoy the real estate side, but I
Yeah.
always loved that startup environment, but I have no desire right now to start another startup. And I've always had people asking me for help on how to raise money after Shark Tank. I was mentoring for the Founders Institute years ago. And so I kind of was like, this is great, but I'm not doing much to give back. So that's what led me to start the Seed Money podcast 2 years ago as a way to really help early stage consumer product entrepreneurs because
Yeah.
when I was raising money, I always felt like the outsider. I felt like everybody in tech had the secret sauce and understood how, startup fundraising works. I didn't
Right.
live in Silicon Valley. I didn't understand. I didn't have a big network. I didn't have wealthy friends and family. I felt like such an outsider. And so much of the content out there is from this VC perspective. And I wasted so much time pitching VCs. And so I felt this obligation to come out and like bridge this gap for early stage CPG brands and entrepreneurs who need funding to grow, but either aren't positioned for VC money or they just don't know where to start. They don't have a wealthy friends and family to get started. And so I just felt compelled to help and
I,
shed some
I I
light on the
love that.
process.
Are you open for me to introduce you to some folks that kinda need that
Yeah,
knowledge
for
base?
sure, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like, I was talking to, my friend in New York, and we represent his brand, and I won't say his name out of respect, but he's like, "I got 3 months worth of runway,"
It's so
you know?
stressful.
Right, and I'm sure you've been on that path, and I'm like, "Hey, man, I hear you. I wanna help as best I can." We're actually looking at kind of, because we do, like, a commercial strategy, we'll do, like, route to market, but, we're not the money people, we don't know that world. We can introduce them to people that know that world, but most people, they have limited runway. So maybe we can get into that too before we get into, I mean, I don't know where you wanna take the conversation. I know where I wanna go
Yeah,
is
up to
because it's
you.
not
You
everybody I talk to is looking for money.
yeah, whatever you wanna cover, I'm happy to. Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's
So, Cindy comes out with a brand, or Bobby has his brand, right? And they have this ambition and they're going to scale it and sell it to 3 to 5 years. And I think that brands, there's kind of five things that happen to the brand. There's the test it phase, there's foundation building, there's actually growth. And then the fourth stage is actually scale. And then the fifth stage, if you ever get there, is to actually sell it, right? And within there, there's about a 93 to 95% failure rate. But everybody needs money somewhere in there, and then the money probably looks different in each one of those stages, I'm assuming, right? So, I'm a brand, and I just started. How do I what's the first step to go get money?
well, I think the first thing is there's no one size fits all way to do it,
Okay.
right? Everybody's situation's different. Here's what I see. I'm going to say what I see people happen and what I see, people do and what happened and what I did. That was kind of a mistake and how I would have done that differently and what I tell people now. So I think you get this idea. Everybody has this like, I need 2 million or I need 500,000, right? That's this like number and they've scrambled together a pitch deck, right? Or pay somebody through the nose to do a pitch deck, which you don't need to do
I've
anymore.
been there,
There's
done that
AI.
with a brand called Viventus, and we can get into that, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, lots to say on that. But I think people end up trying to raise money for like step 4 and 5 that you're talking about of those 5 steps. And
Yeah.
really you want to start off I think there are a few companies that scale really fast and really far. And if you get that momentum for whatever reason, who knows? Maybe you get some like crazy marketing plug or celebrity endorsement that really gives you a huge boost, like, or something you couldn't have predicted necessarily, right? But you
Yeah.
don't want to plan on that. And you don't want to
Right.
try to raise money for that because
I
everything
think that
pop.
happened to Adam with Bottle Keepers. I think something happened where they got some immediate exposure. I believe him. I have to go back and I'll send you the podcast, but I think that happened. Like something happened and went viral. I think he posted something on Facebook and all of a
Mhm.
sudden, like, oh my God, like they have a thing and they were lucky a little bit, I guess, right?
Yeah, and that's great, and I think what happens then and I just spoke with a woman the other day who fell into this same thing, then you start going, "Oh, the money's gonna start just coming in, we're gonna start spending like we're a lot bigger than we are,"
Yeah.
and so much of it is almost like raise some money, but spend and budget like you're bootstrapping, because that's how you can avoid being in that position of, "We only have 3 months runway left, and we're
So
screwed."
cash burns real. You get and protect the cash.
Yeah, and it is so hard to do because distributors, people in marketing are telling you, "You gotta spend, you gotta spend, you gotta spend, you gotta
Yeah, and then you
expand your
arrive someone like me. I'm
distribution."
like, yeah, we have boots on the ground, but we're a retained agency. This is what it's going to cost. I'm like, it's less than the cost of dishwasher, but in a lot of cases, like it's too expensive for them.
Yeah, and so I think staying focused. So first, I guess if you need some money, look within your own network first, but find out what is the exact amount you need to hit the milestone that's going to make you more fundable. And the milestone you're trying to hit is something that is going to be like repeatable traction. So not just getting on Whole Foods shelf. It's like
Yeah.
if I pick one retailer, what will it take to get sell through consistently? And then use that traction to go raise a bigger round. But I think people try to go too wide. I did it too wide, too fast, and spend too much out of the gate. And you just end up like, your options become so limited because you're under resourced for what you're trying to do. So I think staying focused, raising money based on the next milestone that you need. And then once you do catch that momentum, then yeah, you can go out and try to push a bigger round, if
Is there
that's
a
your goal.
playbook people can get from you in order to do that when they talk to you? Is there a playbook you discuss with your clients to say, these are the steps you need to go through? I mean, are you available to have those discussions with folks?
Yeah, I do. So I've got like some freebie things on seedmoneypodcast.com, like a pre-fundraising checklist and
Okay.
stuff like that. And in May, I'm going to launch office hours where I can get
Okay.
on and just start answering because it's really hard to give general advice because everybody's situation is so different. And at a
Right.
certain point, you just need to know, like, here's where I'm at. Here's my resources. I have a great network, or no, I have no network. Help me talk through different options and strategies. So I'm going to open up office hours in May because I feel like I can do all
That is
this free
awesome.
content on the podcast, but it's like ultimately everyone's situation's a little bit different, you know?
I love that. We consult and we'll do like, a 30 to 90-day sprint. And it's super inexpensive because you got us like on retainer. Like I'm like, look, like, yeah, we have a scheduled like weekly meeting, but if you need to call me on Saturday, I'm going to pick up the phone because you're my client. I'm retained. And you got that either 30, 90 days or longer. And some people keep us on for a low retainer just because they need advice. They like need to be advice. Hey, I'm going into this distributor. How do I handle this? Or I need distribution over here. So we do that work. So I think that's an excellent idea. When you actually come out with it, if you could share it back with us, would be great because we'd love to
Definitely.
share with our community. And there's certainly people that I was thinking about you today, and I was thinking seed talent, I was seed money, but I think people don't know where to go. They're like, I'm trying to raise money, and we've tapped into certain people that I think we've taught and they help, but I think we're going to people that are going to later stage. Like our
Hmm.
brand
Yeah.
Viventus, we just need a $500,000. That's it. And
Yeah.
we're having a hard time finding it,
Yeah.
and there's a backstory behind that, but the reality is, I think we all realize that if we want to do it, we got to put our own money in. That's maybe the first round. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I mean, I did a whole episode on the importance of showing your own skin in the game. Like, if you're not willing to put, you know, some decent risk towards what you're doing, it's really hard to expect other people to do that unless you're at that point where you've got like momentum.
Yeah.
But, that's a much farther, like you said, those are further down conversations. Typically, if you're looking for 500,000 under a million, you got to have some skin in the game. And it takes just a lot of talking to the right people, which it
Got it.
takes research, like it's effort. It's not a quick,
Yeah. Someone's asked me, do you have a list of like family offices and all this stuff? And I'm like, and you probably know Josh Wan. And I mean, I have people that the guy knows everybody. He would do that, but Josh will tell you, I don't come to a cap table for 300 million or less. I mean, he
Mhm.
told me that. I'm like,
Yeah.
it was like an eye opening to me. I'm like, really? I'm like, you don't want to make like a couple $1 million off this? Still, this is a great deal. He's like, no, it's not
Yeah.
worth this. He was polite and he talked to us because he's my friend, but
Mhm.
man, it's difficult. So what are the so people, you have the podcast, you have this, you're just global person across the US, but like let's get into beverages if you don't mind. Can we pivot a little bit? This like what are the so you founded a beverage. You contacted me 15 years ago. Hopefully I responded. I think I did. I can see the DM still, like I said. But, like, what were the steps that you took in order to launch this brand? All of a sudden, you end up on Shark Tank. The Shark Tank, was that the defining moment that your brand, like, all of a sudden, the light opened up and the rest is history? Walk us through your journey. What happened?
Yeah, so I was always really active and healthy, but I also grew up loving to party and have fun. And I worked for Diesel Footwear and Burton Snowboards, and there was no
Yeah.
shortage of
Did you
drinking
go to
in the
San Diego State too? Is that probably where you went to school?
no, UCSB, Santa Barbara, yeah. So,
Okay. Okay.
but yeah, it was heavy, heavy drinking environments that I worked in, and I was
Yeah.
teaching like kickboxing at 6 a.m.
And partying at 7 p.m. then? Or at the
Yeah,
happy hour?
yeah,
Wow.
basically like sleeping 2 hours and going to teach kickboxing. Really, can't pull that off at this age. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Barely pulled it off then, but I think the non-alcohol thing, I mean, there was a lot of pressure to drink then. There was no like, I'm not drinking tonight. That was not a thing, or at least maybe I wasn't strong enough to say that, but it wasn't a trend like it is now. And all you had were like the wine coolers of the 80s and then regular wine and alcohol and beer. And I wasn't a beer drinker 'cause I just got like too full. So I started making wine spritzers, like soda water in my white wine, and I could sip on that. I spent a lot of time wakeboarding. I could hang out. And then my guy friends were asking me for a wine spritzer. And I was like, why is there nothing on the market? So this was back in 2004 to 7. And so I saw this gap in the market. Skinny Girl Margarita had just sold. And I was like, I'm going to create this product. This is so needed on the market, and I want this for myself. So I quit my job. And then I realized I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And all my friends and family. So, yeah. So I quit the dream job and I had no idea where to start. I had no connections in beverage. I had no clue how distributors worked. I had no idea. I realized I kind of bit off more than I could chew, but this like sheer determination was behind me. I had told my friends and family I was going to do this, and I was so determined to do it. So, over the course of probably 2 years, I was like writing a business plan and talking to bottlers and distributors and just trying to talk to people, pick up the phone. And then I realized, wow, I have blown through all my savings. I've cashed in my from K. I've run up credit cards. Like, what am I doing? This is not sustainable. I went back to bartending at night. I was like consulting. I was just doing whatever I could to make ends meet.
So you
And
blew up your entire career in your universe
yeah,
doing this thing.
totally blew it up. Yeah, quit the job way too early, but just thought I'd have it off the ground in like 6 months to a year. Just totally naive what it actually took. And also, with alcohol, it is easier now, I will say. Then I had to have licensing in all 50, in any state I was going into, even to ship direct. Half the bottlers, you have to have a license to do sparkling. Have to have a license to do below 6% or 6.5%. That falls under FDA guidelines, not, so it was figuring out, hadn't been created yet. It was really a new category. So fast forward and I'm like, oh my God, I need to raise money, I guess. Okay, I'm going to figure this out. And I ended up going back to school for my MBA because I was like, I
So
don't
you're
have,
broke, you have no 401k, you've launched this brand, now you're gonna go spend more money to go get your
yeah,
MBA.
let me go take out loans
How much
to get
pain do
it.
you want in your life? But
I
okay.
know. Yeah, seriously. We are so ridiculous, the things we do. So I was like, I don't have a wealthy friends and family network. I grew up middle class, comfortable, but I wasn't going to go ask my parents for a bunch of money and, my friends and, extended family. So I was determined through the MBA program to go to every networking event possible and just meet people. And I ended up in a pitch competition. And, I ended up, it was like 125, $150,000 to figure out how to raise money, which is ridiculous. Nobody should spend that. So all that to say, I finally, after 18 months of pitching investors, I mean, hundreds of no's, the things that I had men say to me, like, well, I would invest, but if you get pregnant, I'm going to lose my investment. Oh, you wouldn't believe the things people say. And, those things like creep into your subconscious too. Like later I thought, I can't have kids. I have to put everything into my company. It's crazy. The investor feedback creeps in because you put them up on this pedestal. So 18 months later, I found my lead investor, amazing woman. She was the former CEO of Wendy's and other beverage companies. And she agreed to be my lead investor and put in 100,000. I think it was 100,000 if I could round out the full 500. So I was like, okay, I got my lead investor. I've got my terms. We were doing convertible notes. And I went out and found the rest of it. And, finally closed that 500,000. It was off to the races. We were ready. The only bottler that would take me at the time was in Michigan. Nobody in California would take us on. So I flew to
When
Michigan.
you
We lived
mentioned bottler, so explain that. Is this like you're talking about like the Coca-Cola network, or are you thinking like a co-packer?
co-packer. Yeah.
Co-packer. Okay, got
Co-packer.
it.
Yeah.
Because
So
I work for Coca-Cola, so we'd always refer to we didn't refer them to distributors, we refer to them as bottlers because we would sip them the syrup and then they would bottle it. So, I mean, on intents and purposes, they're co-packers.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, well, we would ship all the ingredients there and they were bottling it.
Okay.
So anyway, we ran our first production run and the first bottles, start coming off the line had tomato floating in them. They didn't fully clean the lines. I was like, "Oh my god." So we lost a bunch there. Finally got that
Did
cleaned
they
up.
charge you for that, by the way?
Not for the bottling, but I lost all the raw materials,
Oh,
it was a
okay.
lot of raw material.
Yeah.
So, got that cleaned up, and I can't remember how many cases we ran, but it was a lot. They shipped them back to our warehouse in California, and we start shipping to customers, and the boxes are showing up soaking wet. The caps are leaking. And I lost $100,000 worth of inventory, which lesson there, but their
So
minimums, they were
no
the only one.
401k, you got your MBA,
Yeah.
you lost $100,000 worth of inventory, and you
Yep.
kept going.
Kept going. Well, I had to. I mean, you don't have a choice at that point, or I didn't feel like I did. So that bottler ended up going out of business 6 months later. I didn't know they were in a downward spiral. They had a lot of issues, going on. So I went back to the bottlers in California. Now that I had a fancy website and a customer, lined up, I found a bottler in Northern California that was willing to take us on. And then I had an advisor who was like, "You need to go on Shark Tank." And I'm like, "I don't want to go on that show." Yeah, all good. Through all of this, I will say the one thing I did is I was totally honest with my investors. I kept them updated every month. I did board meetings. Like, I didn't hide any of this. I was fully transparent with the issues, and they ended up reinvesting. And so I think it's an important lesson to be transparent and keep your investors updated. A lot of entrepreneurs don't do that. They hit problems and they just hide to some degree. So don't do that. So anyway, long story short, I ended up on Shark Tank, got a deal with Mark Cuban. But this was like my Hail Mary, because I was on the verge.
So you go on to Shark Tank.
Yeah. So Shark Tank was really kind of the Hail Mary, because at this point we had spent so much money on legal to get licensing for alcohol inventory. So we were, running out of money, but I had gotten into Whole Foods after getting rejected 3 times. I finally got Whole Foods to give us, a local test market.
Was this before Shark Tank or after Shark Tank?
This was before Shark Tank, right
Well,
before
okay.
I was like, had just, when my episode was recorded, we had just shipped in like our first, well, I say shipped, hand delivered our first
Okay.
cases to our local Whole Foods.
Wow.
And so I went on the show, and you know how the show works. Like, you can't ask for that much money if your valuation's in the toilet, right?
Yeah.
And so I was pretty honest on the show, and I practiced like crazy to prep for the show. And I mean, I was in a really bad spot. So it was either that or we were basically going to have to close the doors. So I was only asking for 150,000, which in the beverage space is like nothing. At this
Right.
point, I had raised, I think it was like total 750 was in the company. And Mark Cuban's like, "My wife would love it. I'll invest." So he invested, and he was way more involved than I thought. And after years of, trying to get distributors and trying to get retailers, Shark Tank airs, and all of a sudden everyone's coming to you and wants to carry the product. And we ended up going, you know, too far, too fast for the money we had. I was
Yeah.
killing myself because I have to like prove, Mark Cuban's like watching. You are really trying. I mean, he
Were
had
you
a
on
thing.
speed dial with Mark Cuban then? Would he call you and say, "Hey, man, what's going on?"
Yeah, he was really involved. Yeah, I thought I would never talk to him, but he was actually involved. And I would
Yeah.
talk to him, email with him, and he would
Yeah.
help and open doors. Oh, but that he wouldn't do further equity investments. So he was
Yeah.
financing inventory runs. We were paying it back. And we had a good few years, but we needed more money. We did an aluminum bottle, trying to go into Vegas, but there was no shelf space for this at the grocery store. So we were mixed in with all the wine. Now there's a whole non-alcohol, low alcohol section that people go to, but I was trying to educate the consumer from the main wine section with, 200 wine labels. How do I get them to know what my product is all about
So
just
you were
looking at
too
it?
early.
Way too early. Yeah, I think I was 5 to 7 years too early. So the year that I decided to close it up, and it was it was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life. It's not easy. And luckily my main investor, she just made it so simple. She's like, you're under-resourced. It's not for lack of hard work.
Yeah.
The category isn't proven, and you don't have the resources to educate an industry, an
Yeah.
entire customer group. It's very expensive to do that.
Right.
So that year that I closed it up, White Claw launched. And
Uh,
that was really the first one that came out, and they really established that category of a, like, trendier, cool, lighter alcohol option, you know,
yeah.
different option from the wine cooler. So had I waited a few more years, might have been a different outcome, but it's what it is. You can't always control market timing. That's
No,
there's things that are
things
outside of
happen
our
for a
control.
reason. Things
Yeah.
happen for a reason too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's funny. White Claw. So I was with a distributor, Breakthrough, when they launched it. We represented Mark Anthony at the
Mm.
time, and I remember they asked for like our forecast for the year. We said something like, "Yeah, 10,000 cases." I think the first year we ended up doing like 100,000, just in Minneapolis, by the way,
Oh
mind
my
you.
god, no way.
And I think they do over 1,000,000 cases a year. I think it's gone down a little bit because of all the different entrances and the whole bit,
Yeah.
but we're at a point where we're doing 1,000,000 cases a year just in Minneapolis, not the whole
Wow.
state of Minnesota,
That's
Minneapolis.
crazy. Oh my god. Yeah, so when I was
I don't
meeting
think
with
they expected that to
distributors,
happen, by the way. What's that?
when I was meeting with buyers and retailers and
Yeah,
distributors, they would be like, "Nobody wants less alcohol." Then everybody was like chugging Jaeger and Fireball and, all these things, and they're like,
yeah.
"Nobody wants less alcohol." That's
Now
so
everybody does. That's like the
now
whole market.
everybody does. Yeah.
It's like, it's like you think it's like every time you open the headlines up, it's like Armageddon for the liquor
Yeah.
business.
Now I know I can't get over now like the no alcohol. I was having a hard time selling 6.5%, and now it's like the no alcohol trend is huge.
Oh, it's amazing.
So yeah, it was a pushing a boulder uphill for a long time, and a lot of hard lessons learned, a lot of fun too. But at a certain point, my health was taking a toll, my relationships were taking a toll, and as you know, my bank account was not, seeing
Yeah, I've been
any.
doing the math in my head. I mean, that's just, it's amazing that you were able to pivot though. And so when you hung up the cleats, so to speak, what was the first pivot? Was it right into the property business, or you had a hospitality business, didn't you, or something like that? Or was that you?
Well, so I decided at that point, okay, we've put off having a family, and
Yeah.
because of, I didn't think I could do both, which was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I had my son. I took a year off to just like decompress. I sold through our inventory. I wound everything down, which is an extremely painful process. Like go through all the stages of grief. It is not fun. It's a lot of soul searching, a lot of yoga. Like I don't even know what I'm good at anymore. Like what I don't even know what the heck can I do.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just need to get a paycheck for a while. So I went back to a corporate job. I took a job with a winery for like 6 months,
Okay.
and then they went under. There's like so many wineries go under. So then I took a
Mhm.
job as VP of sales and marketing with a music company here in Santa
Uh-huh.
Barbara. And the CEO there was this amazing woman. The founder was very challenging, but the CEO that I reported to, she was amazing. And she really gave me my confidence back. And I really realized how much I learned through that process and how
Yeah.
resourceful I was, and like all the out of what a great out of the box thinker. And,
Yeah.
I could multitask like you wouldn't believe. And then I realized like, I don't want to work for someone else. I'm totally capable of running a business.
Yeah.
I overcorrected going back to corporate, and, once I got out of the baby fog a little bit more, I was ready to, like, take
Right.
on a new challenge, and that's when I started the hospitality business and started investing in short-term rentals.
That's amazing. It's funny. I think my partner, Alicia Vargo, and I told her the other day, I might cry, by the way, but I lost my job about 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years. And I didn't become an entrepreneur because I wanted to. I became an entrepreneur because I had to. Right. So I have ultimate respect for you and others that just dive in and do it. I'm pretty much risk averse. Like I wanted the paycheck on the 15th and the 30th.
Mhm.
Man, I've been doing this thing for going on 4 years, and it's the most amazing thing, but it's not easy.
Mhm.
But what my partner did, much like your CEO did of the company, she lifted me up and she helped me believe in myself and like my self-worth. And I'm like, I can do this. I have almost 40 years experience to share with people. So I just very much appreciate that. All
Yeah.
right. So with the remaining time, we ask the most important question. And then we'll ask anything that we didn't cover that you want to cover off with us. But can I ask you a question?
Sure.
It's the most important question.
Okay, I'm
What
ready.
is the difference between success and failure?
Ooh, the difference between success and failure. I don't think you get one without the other. I think you learn better lessons from failure. I mean, you learn they might be harder, but they're life-changing lessons that shift your whole like person, everything that you are. Successes are fun and they should be celebrated, but the failures are where that's where you grow and you without those, I don't know, I think you don't become as of a full person as you potentially could be. You have to have the failures to be challenged through those situations. So, I don't know, that's my answer.
No, I
Based
love
based on
that.
real life.
As a follow-up to that, you obviously shared your journey with us this afternoon, which very much respect it. A lot of people aren't as open about that. I'm very open and appreciate your openness because it's not always rosy, right? So with these failures you had along the way and obviously great successes, what keeps you going?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I love helping people. That's like really like I love doing the podcast. I met with 2 founders yesterday who are going through like some really severe challenges and they reached out and, just being able to share like my experience and what got me through those things makes it all feel like life is worth it. So that keeps me going. And I think obviously my family and my son, it's so fun being a mom. He's my best creation, I always say. But yeah, I think it's just I love creating. I love being challenged and I love like I'm such a lifelong learner. And for me to keep learning, I have to keep being challenged and trying new things. So I have no doubt, like in 10 years, I could be doing something completely different 5 years from now. And I also love the uncertainty of I have no idea what I might be doing again in the future. Who
Yeah,
knows? So that's what keeps me going. It's just like the fun challenges and growth and learning. It keeps life interesting.
you're a light of brightness that I think you bring to the world, and for the trials and tribulations that you've gone through. You launch a brand, you're $100,000 in the hole before you even begin,
Yeah.
and then you
Not
go,
fun.
then, after you kind of fast forward, you get your MBA, another $100,000 probably that you put into it. Then you go work for this winery and you cashed in, and then you decide after 10 years of this struggle that you close down the brand. And now you're here and you've built a very successful business and you're bringing knowledge to the world. And that's very much appreciated on my part. And hopefully people that find this podcast can find you. What did we discuss today that, first of all, like how do people like find you? I guess that would be a question. Like if they want to find you, what's the best way to
Yeah,
find you?
LinkedIn is probably where I'm most active these days. So connect with me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Send me a message. The Seed Money podcast, if you search that on YouTube or any, podcast platform, I've got tons of great interviews and tons of strategies. I really try to listen to what challenges people have. And if you have a question, I just started doing this. I'll cover do an episode covering that topic and background on it. And I just love studying this stuff. So I stay pretty in the loop on kind of what's going on in the world around fundraising. But yeah, LinkedIn is probably where I'm most active.
Okay. And then how to like what didn't we like anything you want to leave with the audience today that we didn't discuss that you would want to maybe to convey to everybody?
Yeah, I think that, starting a company is hard. And the thing I've learned is like, if you can master like holding on to this vision while also remaining a little bit detached from it is such a powerful place to be because you can't always control the outcome of something, but you have to hold that vision in order to keep going. You can't do what we do without having this like vision. And if your vision is to be a billionaire and whatever, that's fine too. That's not my vision, like, but that is fine. So whatever, if your vision is just to like have a lifestyle brand and make 500,000 a year, that's okay too. Like it's so easy to get caught in everyone else is doing this. I should be doing that. That should be my goal. But really like dig deep and figure out what like your personal, what you want your life to look like, and then hold that vision. But like at the same time, be detached because it might not be this venture that gets you there. It might be the next one. But if you just stay focused on like that entrepreneurship path, like it'll all work out some way, shape, or form. And I say that because I never would have imagined that I'd be doing what I'm doing now, but I'm so like happy where I landed. So it's just interesting how life works out.
I love that. I always use the word destination. You gotta know where you're going in order to get
Mhm.
there, and then you gotta have a map, and that map might change along the way. Like you kinda said, it's like, I don't, it's funny, I get up every day and I don't wanna sound like I'm Forrest Gump, but it is like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're gonna get today.
Mhm.
I mean, at noon, I could be being fired by a client, and at 2 o'clock, I've signed up 3 clients. It's like, you know,
Highest of
it's
highs,
just
lowest of lows
amazing.
every day.
What's
Yeah.
that?
I Entrepreneurship, highest of highs and lowest of lows every day.
Yeah, it's true, but you gotta jump in. It's funny. I don't know if you've met Josh. I think I mentioned Josh Wan. I call him out occasionally, but I remember when I started this journey, the first person I called was Josh Wan. I mean, I knew he was an entrepreneur, founded Forest Brands. He developed, beverage brands, and now he's like does this Founderland. Are you familiar with Founderland?
No,
You should go participate in Founderland. Just
check it
Google
out.
it, and I'm happy to connect you up with Josh. But they're selling tickets right now. It happens like in October down in
Okay,
like Los Angeles,
cool.
and they
Yeah, I
bring
totally go.
all these people that you want to go talk to. They're there.
Fun. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, so you should just reach out. I'll make an introduction to Josh, but you should reach out. I don't even. I lost my train of thought, but it's But he told me, he said, this is what it is. He goes, you got to be willing to play in the mud.
Yeah. Oh, that's yeah, great point.
I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm mud ready, and there's no safety net. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
there isn't, because you don't know if there's like $100,000 deal that closes or whatever. But I'm learning a lot, and this was so awesome. I'd ask you to remain on the line with me. You probably know how this works. We got to make sure everything downloads, and I want to thank everybody that joined us today. This will be a podcast in the near future. I'll probably move this one up in the line because I just love it. And I'm going to do like you did. I'm going to do a little newsletter or whatever, and I'm going to use your person to help me go do this. But this was
Yeah.
great. You can find Jayla at the Seed Money Podcast. You can find her on LinkedIn as well. Reach out to me if you I'm struggling to find her. We very much appreciate your participation with us on Drink Up. It was fun. Thanks for joining us on Hump Day.
Yeah. Thanks for
Happy
having
hour.
me and thanks for doing what you do. I think your service can help a lot of people avoid a lot of mistakes that they could be making on their own. It's tough. So having good people around you who know the industry is important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I tell a lot of founders, I'm like, you're not ready for us yet. And they go, what do you mean? I said, you know what? The best thing you can do is go in the market like this. I'll just tell you a story quick. It was India, and India founded a whiskey brand. I said, India, the best thing you can do is move to Houston, and you actually build your brand yourself the first year. Go find 100 accounts. And then
Mhm.
after you get 100 accounts, when you're ready to actually in a growth phase, that's when you should hire me in the growth
Yeah,
phase.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, thank you. Happy
Yeah,
Wednesday.
thank you.
Bye bye. And that is